Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. Whether you're making gifts for others or expecting your own bundle of joy, baby knits are small, quick projects that I didn't realize take a lot of planning and consideration. We've gotten quite a few requests for a video like this and wanted to review more yarns and fibers before we could share our full thoughts with you. So in today's video, we're going to jump into a few tips from moms that you may not have thought about before, the best yarn and fibers, and of course a couple of pattern recommendations at the end as well. Have you ever knitted any baby garments before? We would love to hear about it in the comments below. Let's get started. If you're like me and you hadn't knit anything for a baby before, you may not be aware of some key things that can make baby knits more safe and usable. Now let me just say as a disclaimer, we highly recommend you monitor your baby when they're wearing any handmade items. Choking hazards. Babies don't know not to put things in their mouths. As they're learning to use their hands, they're curious, they put everything in their mouths. They could even be teething, making them even more prone to putting things in their mouth. So one way we can prevent babies from choking is to make sure that our gifted items don't have anything for them to choke on. This could include loose fibers, tweed flecks, and especially buttons. As soft as mohair and long fibers can be, I personally wouldn't want that in my baby's mouth. Same with tweed flecks, especially if it's not well spun into a yarn and can come off easily. It's just asking for a baby to pull it apart and put it in their mouth. And then there are buttons or any kind of decoration. They're larger, often plastic, and can become a huge problem if not secured properly onto the garment. So you can still use buttons, and they can be very handy for baby garments smaller than the 6-month age mark, but triple check how secure they are before putting the garments onto the baby. Overheating. Now we already did an all about acrylics video and don't want to sound like a broken record, but in summary, acrylic yarns are not breathable and are made of plastic. Depending on the time of year and your climate, acrylic and even some wools can be over-insulating. Although we highly don't recommend making garments or gifts with plastic yarn, especially for babies, if you don't have any other options, a way to help with overheating would be to use a looser or lace stitch gauge to allow airflow in between your stitches. When it comes to wools, cashmere, alpaca, Highland, and Icelandic wools are some of the most insulating and are commonly used for outerwear. Skin sensitivities. Just like me, babies have very sensitive skin. This is why super soft yarns are often advertised as baby soft yarn, meaning it's the company's goal for the yarn to be soft enough for you to make baby projects with it. Now, if you've watched some of our review videos of yarns that have the word soft in the name, or really any yarn you haven't tried before, we recommend you feel and work with the yarn first before you buy a lot of it. More often than not, we have found these soft yarns not to be as soft as we were expecting. If you're not familiar with a lot of different wools, merino wools, especially superwash merino wool, seems to be a very widely available and great soft yarn option in our opinion. Of course, some will always be softer than others. I think it's one of the reasons why it's so common and easy for crafters to gravitate towards those polyester and acrylic yarns, because at least in the United States, that's what is the most readily available in the big box craft stores, and they can feel the yarns the easiest that way. But just because it's the easiest to get your hands on doesn't necessarily make it the best option for your projects, but that is of course for you to decide. Now, this is probably more of a biased opinion, but we think the best way for you to feel different yarns from all over the world is our monthly yarn card tier on Patreon. We'll leave the link in the description if you'd like to check it out. Washing. Baby garments get washed a lot because, well, messes and blowouts are bound to happen. So one thing to consider is how well the yarn you use washes. If I was receiving a handmade gift and I wasn't familiar with yarn washing techniques, I would probably be so scared to wash my handmade gift. So if you choose a yarn that is not machine washable, we highly recommend you include washing instructions with your gift. Or probably what I would choose for ease and a little bit of added softness is a superwash treated wool. This means that the yarn has undergone a treatment that prevents it from felting together, and it allows you to put the yarn or project into the washing machine. I still would probably include some washing instructions even if you decide to use superwash treated yarn, but to prevent accidental shrinkage and felting, I would probably go the superwash route. Maintenance. Now, depending on the size, age, and garment you want to gift, something to consider is will it pill? Softer yarns are so much more prone to pilling than more rustic wools. I imagine a baby sweater will not be worn 24/7, only for a short period of time and until the baby grows out of it. So pilling and maintaining pill balls is probably the least of your worries, but maybe something to keep in the back of your mind when choosing a yarn and a project. Sweaters only after 6 months old. Babies aren't able to hold up the weight of their head or sit up on their own until they're at least around 6 months old. That makes dressing them a little bit more tricky if they're younger than that 6-month mark. This is where buttons and cardigans come in. You don't have to worry about sliding a sweater over your baby's head, as you'll be able to wrap a cardigan around them or have that little bit of extra room with a couple of buttons on the side of a neckline. So in short, maybe hold off making sweaters for young babies and knit the 6-month and up sizes. Knitting the next size up. Babies grow so quickly, and of course we never fully know how big a baby will be when they're born. Yes, we'll have a general idea, but it's not 100%. You could be gifting to a baby that will be on the larger rather than the smaller side. So it could grow out of that newborn size clothes in a matter of days or a week rather than a month or two. So what does that mean for us fiber artists giving gifts? We put so much time and effort into their gift, and they may not be able to wear it more than once because they'll grow out of it. So we suggest knitting the next size bracket up. Say a baby will be 6 months old around Christmas and you're wanting to gift a sweater. Perhaps knit the 9-month-old size instead of the 6-month. That way the baby has that little bit of extra room and they can wear the sweater for a longer period of time. Or it could fit them just right if they're a bigger baby. I've heard many instances where a baby wears clothes larger than their age because they're just growing so much. Yarn and fibers. Whether it's a blanket, socks, hats, and of course garments, the type of yarn is a huge decision to make for the safety and health of a baby and also washing ease for the mom. Of course, depending on what project you're wanting to make will depend on what yarn and fiber you choose. Cotton. It's breathable and doesn't have a lot of stretch unless it's wet, as it soaks water and gets heavy. But it has a high tensile strength, meaning that it is incredibly long-lasting. One thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't really hold its shape as you would expect an animal fiber to do. A few of our favorite cotton yarns include Stylecraft Naturals Organic Cotton and K&C Essential Cotton. Merino wool. Merino wool is known for its softness. Its fibers are more fine, meaning it's a little delicate on its own. However, depending on the twist of the yarn, that could definitely add some strength, allowing it to withstand greater tension and stress. A few of our favorite 100% merino wool yarns are Cream Casull Wool the Merry Merino and Mila Mia Naturally Soft Merino. Blends. I love blended yarns because it combines the strength of different fibers all into one yarn. Like merino, it's delicate. Add in a little nylon content and you've got a great sock yarn that's less likely to get holes in it. Or cotton. Add in a little bit of merino and it's oftentimes more bouncy and softer too. A few of our top combination yarn picks include Knit Pick Stroll, Cascade Heritage, and Drops Cotton Merino. Now, I have made a couple of baby knits by now and I have learned a lot. So I wanted to share a few good and bad examples of my own completed baby knits and how they could have been better. The links for these patterns are also listed in the description. Ribbed baby socks. This was my very first baby knit and only the second pair of socks that I've ever knit. These are the Tiny Toes Baby Socks free pattern by Woolen Cottage. I purchased the yarn for the rust colorway because the baby was being born in the fall and I just loved the color. On the positive side, I used Knit Pick Stroll Tweed, a super soft yarn that was superwash treated and had a little bit of nylon. It has a nice twist and was a pleasure to work with. However, the tweed flex, big no in my opinion that I never would have thought about. The tweed flecks are hardly attached at all and can very easily be picked off the yarn. You could probably pick off every single tweed bit if you wanted to because of just how unattached they are. Big red flag and choking hazard. So these socks may only get to be used for a cute photo and are not as practical because of those tweed flecks, which is such a bummer looking back now. So for next time, I would probably use the Knit Pick Stroll yarn because I loved it, but just the not tweed version. A waffle knit cardigan. After some more knitting experience under my belt and doing some baby knit research, I decided my next knit would be a versatile cardigan. I used the free pattern by Drops called the Dream Plan Cardigan and altered it to be able to use a hurdle stitch pattern. I chose this DK weight hand-dyed superwash merino yarn, very soft and easily washable. It doesn't have a ton of fuzzes sticking away from the yarn, which was great. So the potential problem for this knit is of course the buttons. I was overly cautious about securing each button and made sure that the recipient's mom knew that they needed to be checked before every wear. Bonnet. My last baby knit example is this garter stitch bonnet using the free Big Barely Bonnet by Pure Stitches pattern. I went with a non-superwash sport to DK weight yarn for this one because it was in a neutral beige color and was what I had on hand. The pure softness of this Cream Casull Wool Merry Merino 140 overruled my superwash treated yarn rule because since it will be on the baby's head, I don't see it needing to be washed a ton. I couldn't really not use this yarn. The softness was calling out to be made into a baby knit, and that is okay. So we wanted to include a few more pattern recommendations from Ravelry if you're looking for some baby knit inspiration. The first pattern is the Ramble hat by Bekah Knits. It comes in 7 sizes ranging from 0 to 3 months to an adult large. It recommends using an Aran weight yarn, so I have a feeling it would be a pretty quick knit. It is worked seamlessly from the top down with short row ear flaps. It includes a woven cable texture at the bottom and I-cord edging and ties. I think this could be such a fun matching hat set for mom and the baby, or even a whole family expecting their new little one. The next pattern is the Easy Baby Blanket in Aran by Daisy Gray Knits. It comes in one size with finished measurements of 30 by 36 inches. It recommends using a medium or Aran weight yarn and only knits and purl stitches to create a simple, reversible baby blanket. The last pattern is the Caspian jacket by Ine Helland. It comes in 8 sizes ranging from 0 to 3 months to 8 years old. It recommends using a DK weight yarn and is worked seamlessly from the top down using raglan increases. I think this cardigan could very easily be customized with an all-over textured stitch, stockinette, or even colorwork stripes. So I realize this video may have been an information overload, but we hope it gave you some tips or things that you can think about when you're making your next baby knit. Do you have any baby project suggestions or recommendations? We would love to hear them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.